Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And he's Garret Price.
How's it going?
So swell, because if you're listening to this show on the day it comes out, there's football on tonight. We have the we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Just assumed that it was Kansas City in your brain.
I know that Pat Mahomes overdosing over on me. And then you got Pat Mahomes in Brazil tomorrow. Right. Playing the Chargers.
Chargers? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I gotta my son plays high school football now, so they play on Friday nights. So I gotta it starts at 7, so I get home late. I gotta I'm gonna record it and then stay up late and watch it the whole game. And I'm not will I be able to not check my phone at the game is the question.
That's
probably.
the tricky
I'm gonna
part.
have to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm addicted to my phone. I am an addict.
Put it in do not disturb mode though, where you get no notifications.
I've never done that.
My phone does that every single night at 10 o'clock. Just do not disturb. I'm done now.
I should do. I probably should do that, but
I had to do that for Ohio State, Texas. My niece had a birthday party during the Ohio State, Texas game, so I had to do that so that way I could go home and not know what happened. So I get it.
Wait, I can't. I don't know how you guys are. If I know the outcome of a game, I can't even watch it. It's ruined for me.
That's me too. I don't want to watch it then.
Because I'm just looking for that score or something. I'm the same way. Once I know, it's over with. It's over. I can't handle it. Yeah. Yep. So that being said, we don't want to keep you too long because we want you to get to your football game in case you're listening to this at 7 o'clock. Little preseason preppers. And if you watched, you're listening on Friday, game went well yesterday. Hope you guys scored a ton of points. I'm sure Dak Prescott threw for 800 yards. And it was fun. That's my bold prediction. Dak Prescott throws for 800 yards Thursday Night Football.
Dude, I like it.
Late night. Yeah, just being wild. Anyways, we're getting this after yesterday's show. We've decided I'm going to do 2 to every one of their 1 because I was just going through teams and looking at, what can go a little widdly wonky here. So let's start off with the hometown team, shall we? A Cleveland special from a special Clevelander. Jerry Jeudy is a top 14 wide receiver, and David Njoku is a top 3 fantasy football tight end. We were talking about targets last year and red cards. These two are red card carrying members. They will see almost all of the targets from Grandpa Joe. And right now, Jeudy and Njoku, they weren't a target superstar last year, but a target superstar when Jameis Winston came in at the helm. We saw that when Jameis came in, which was weeks 8 through 14, Jerry Jeudy was wide receiver 5 overall when Jameis was in there for those weeks. And that was also due to a bye. He was wide receiver 2 overall on points per game. So when Jameis Winston came in, Jerry Jeudy on a points per game basis was wide receiver 2 overall, averaging 21 points per game. He saw 9.9 targets per game last year. David Njoku in that same span was tight end 5 overall last year and averaged 15.2 points per game last year, which is crazy to say. In that span, 15.2 points was only good for tight end 5. Hello, Trey McBride. Hello, Brock Bowers. Hello, George Kittle. And Jonnu Smith was, like we were talking last show, just being a target slut his little self. So when you look at David Njoku, last year he had a 23.8% target share amongst tight ends. Expect him and his BFF Joe to keep that going, and look at for him to be, a very provocative quarterback in his own right. Last time when he was a quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, in that span where he played quarterback, he was quarterback 7 overall starting in Cleveland. And in that same span, David Njoku averaged 18.2 points per game with Joe Flacco. So over the last 3 years, I've talked about in the show, David Njoku's got better every single year. Over the last 3 years, only Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce, and TJ Hockenson have had more targets per game at tight end than David Njoku. I look for both of these Cleveland Browns to come in and be target red card carriers and to be elite at their position. David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy. Next one, speaking of Thursday Night Football, is a negative one. That's right. I'm not all presents and Christmas cheer. Sometimes you got to be the Grinch because it makes a good movie and Jim Carrey needs a role. Jalen Hurts finishes outside the top 12 quarterbacks for the first time out there. And this isn't just a big negative on Jalen Hurts. To me, I think it's going to be the emergence of some of these young quarterbacks. You mentioned a guy like Drake May, Garrett, stepping up. I've been slobbering over JJ McCarthy, which I'll talk later about. And I think there's a couple more quarterbacks that are going to slide their way into that quarterback one range, just enough to get Jalen Hurts bumped out to that quarterback 13 to 16 role. We've seen his rushing numbers slowly start to decline. Now they add a guy like Saquon Barkley who comes out there and dominated the league last year in touches, right? We talk about how many carries he had in the NFL last year. I thought Will Shipley looked pretty good out there. I think it hurts his goal line numbers as well. And for me, when you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, where this offense has kind of want to throw the ball a little bit more and rely on the run a little bit more, they've kind of taken out those duties, rushing duties back from Jalen Hurts. We've seen his rushes per game kind of drop back over last year with the addition of Saquon Barkley. And his passing yards, like we've talked about this before, like Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback, right? He's a very good game manager, but he's not one of those quarterbacks with like an elite NFL arm, right? Like he's not going to go out there and just win the game with his arm over and over again. Not saying he can't get done. He had that beautiful pass to Devontae Smith in Super Bowl last year. He's a Super Bowl champion quarterback. I don't want to take that away, but I think when you have a quarterback who doesn't throw, hasn't really necessarily a chance to throw for 5,000 yards, might have a hard time even throwing for 4,000 yards, to be honest with you, for a guy like Jalen Hurts. Once you take away that Russian upside, and more importantly, like those goal line touchdowns, I think it's going to put him back down to that about 17 points per game, which is going to live right around where I said, like quarterback 13 to 15. And I think we're going to see the emergence of some more of these young guys step up, the JJ McCarthys, the Drake Mays. We're going to see guys like Jordan Love re-enter the phrase. A guy like Trevor Lawrence can come back this year. Brock Purdy's a lock because that's what he is every single year. So I think it's bold. I think it's crazy. But listen, that's what the show is for, right? I got to find bold takes I believe in. I've said this summer, like I'm a little bit more down on Jalen Hurts than he has been. I think he finished his quarterback 8 last year. So we're kind of seeing him taking these small steps back. I think he's going to take 4 more steps back and bump himself outside of the top 12.
Interesting. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with it. I think the rushing numbers are going to be there, but I can see a path where this happens. I just, I do think I'm of the opposite belief. I think like Saquon had this big outlier year last year. I don't think that's going to be replicated, a 1-for-1. So I think they're going to have to do some things. And they're a team that's always talking about like, hey, last year was last year. We have to do what we need to do to win this year. So I think they do kind of see this as like a completely different thing from last year. I know they had success with last year, but obviously, Kellen Moore moves on. So they got a different voice there from an offensive coordinator standpoint. And I just think it could go a little bit different way than it did last year as far as, Saquon getting that many carries to over 2,000 yards rushing again. I just think it's an unrealistic goal. Because I mean, I don't know this answer, but has anyone ever rushed for 2,000 yards back-to-back years? I
don't believe so. I can look while we're talking.
There's only been a handful of people rush for 2,000 yards.
Right. That's what I mean. Like I just don't know that output is realistic to kind of replicate for this upcoming season. So I think it's got to come from somewhere. And while I can see, Jalen Hurts' rushing total staying down in that 600 range, he's going to get 13, 14 touchdowns on the ground. That's just what this offense looks like. That's what that's like their bread and butter type of thing. So I think the passing yards are the thing that are going to have to go up a little bit. He only had 2,900 passing yards. So I think easily he can get in that 3,200 to 3,500 range and kind of keep himself afloat in that top 12. So
just to answer that question, nobody's ever done back-to-back. And in fact, no one's even had multiple 2,000-yard rushing seasons. So the 9 players that have done it all only did it one time.
And that makes sense. It's such a milestone that I didn't think anyone had done it twice, but I just wanted to put the caveat out there in case I was like having a total brain fart about somebody doing it twice. But I don't know. That's just how I feel about that. No, I mean, I don't want to poo-poo on your bold prediction, but that's one that I could see kind of not happening.
It's one of my most bold predictions out there. And when I was going through teams, I was trying to, I want to go one for every team. It was just too many, 32. And like, I got to the Eagles. It was a tough one. I was like, you know what? I've been saying Jalen Hurts is going to drop down. I know. And I think Garrett, Matt, where we at and I different. I think you said it, like he's locked in for those rushing touchdowns. I think that's what comes back on him. Saquon lost a lot of touchdowns last year because of the Jalen Hurts thing. And it was kind of like a narrative that came out later. And when we saw that really get vocal, they really started to give those to Saquon. I think that continues this year, the start of the season. I actually think his rushing touchdowns is what brings him back to quarterback 13 to 15.
Well, I mean, the rushing touchdowns, 2021, 10, and then 2022, 13, 2023, 15, last year, 14. So, I mean, I feel like you almost single digits. You can almost slam dunk double digits home for him as far as rushing touchdowns pretty easily.
So everything runs dry.
Everything runs dry. This is Rich's doom and gloom section. Everything runs dry.
Put that on a t-shirt.
It was a bold one.
It was. All right, so we're doing. Go ahead.
Let me touch on the Jeudy and Njoku one real quick. Individually, I like both of those. The tough part is going to be together, both of those things happening. Even though Joe Flacco is a bit more of a YOLO quarterback, which lends itself to fantasy points, which is good news. Nobody's quite the YOLO guy that is Jameis Winston.
Agree.
Jameis Winston is the ultimate. Most like, hey, bro, somebody's down there. I'm just going to chuck it. Like, he's the most.
So I said top 14 instead of wide receiver 5, Garrett. I had to bring him back 9 spots.
It's true. I am bigger on the David Njoku side of that. I do think he's going to be having a baller season. But I think I just don't know that the Browns offense is efficient enough to have both of those guys do it all season long. Maybe for stretches like it was last year, but to do it all season long would be tough.
Come on, baby. I wore my Browns nerd shirt. Don't take this away from me. I ain't got much to hang my hat on this year. So besides that defensive line.
So
that's why it's a bold take.
You talk the Browns, which is pretty doom and gloomy, and then what was the second one? I can't even remember. We were just talking about it, but whatever. Thank you, Jalen Hurts. DOA. It was also doom and gloom. I'm gonna follow suit, I think, and just go doom and gloom for the Miami Dolphins. All right, so after Jalen Wright just straight up becomes a non-factor due to extreme inefficiency, Ollie Gordon emerges after injury. Also, De'Von Achane emerges as
everybody dies in your scenarios
in Miami. Of course, it's doom and gloom. I just said it was Kenneth doom
Walker
and gloom.
And Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah.
Listen, this is what happens to running backs. This is why guys come out of nowhere. But listen, Ollie Gordon, I think, is kind of a hot name now. Anyway, he really looked good in the preseason. And Jalen Wright, obviously just went through like a leg surgery, an unspecified leg surgery. Don't know how much time he's going to miss. It sounds like it's not going to be a lot of time, but I think it's going to be enough time, especially with De'Von Achane also missing practice because he's dinged up a little bit here at the beginning of the season. And this is another.
Today.
Did he practice today?
Yeah,
fine. I mean, I expect him to play. I just expect him to also get dinged up again. But if you look at De'Von Achane, he averaged 5.33 yards per play last year on about 16 and a half plays. And that's counting, catches and rushes. The year before, when he was, doing really, really well, he averaged 7.67 yards per touch on about 11.8, so closer to 12 touches per game. And I feel like there's this balancing act that needs to happen with a guy that's 5'8" and 188 pounds. Like, what is the right amount of touches where we're going to maximize what we're getting out of this explosive athlete? And, I don't know what the answer is, but it seems like less is more. He seems like a less is more type of guy. And Ollie Gordon is this big back that is also kind of explosive and does some good things. It's the reason we like Jalen Wright. coming into the year. It's just that Jalen Wright never really emerged and did anything last year, and now he's nicked up again. And he doesn't really seem to be getting it. You know what I mean? He averaged 3.7 yards per carry last year, where, you know, Ollie Gordon looked actually pretty decent in the preseason. I got the numbers here. I think he was like fifth out of all the running backs as far as yardage, 126 yards on 26 carries, 4.9 yards per carry, which, you know, it is what it is. It's the preseason. You don't want to put too much weight into it, but dude's going to get an opportunity. And I don't think it's going to take much, especially on this team where the head coach is trying to save his job. You talked about that with Shane Steichen. I think it's a very similar situation here in Miami where whatever works, they need to be able to run the ball to kind of get that play action stuff going. And if De'Von Achane needs to kind of be scaled back, somebody else is going to have to take a little bit of this load. And I think Ollie Gordon is kind of the guy that fits the bill as far as he's efficient with his carries. He's a bigger back and can make some things happen. And he just gets to take some of the pressure off De'Von Achane, which I think is better for De'Von Achane and the rest of this offense.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Ollie Gordon, there's a chance that he is, we even talked about this in his tape breakdown. There's a chance that he is the guy that we saw in 2023, and he's not the guy that we saw in 2024. And if that's the case, the Dolphins got an absolute steal at the running back position. And that is the perfect scenario for De'Von Achane. I don't think that hurts De'Von Achane. Looking at my projections, he can put up 190 carries and still be running back 2 overall. So I think there's a scenario where it can be an and, not an or, as far as how successful both these guys are. So I could see it.
All right, Garrett, who's your bold prediction?
All right. We're talking rookie running backs. Let's stay on track with that. Every year I kind of try to get a kind of outside the box, little creative one on how it's presented and stuff. And this was the one I did this year. So in 2023, we had a pretty legendary running back class. Our top 3 guys, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and De'Von Achane, and all of them came out of the gate just balling. They were awesome right away in their rookie season. They put up 3,721 total yards between the 3 of those guys. Not only do I think the top 3 guys in this class will beat that number, I think they eclipse 4,000 total yards between those 3 guys. So the ones I'm thinking of specifically, I'm going to leave it open in case someone takes a spot, but obviously Ashton Genty, Travion Henderson, Omarion Hampton. I think all 3 of these guys get a ton of work in their rookie season and are extremely effective and efficient running backs to where we're talking about all these guys as top 15 players right off the rip.
I love that.
I can see that. Yeah, I love that too. I mean, don't forget about Brashard Smith. He is going to be at least a running back 2 this year.
There you go. At least for RB2.
All right.
Well, yeah, it's definitely bold, but we've seen this before. Obviously, we saw it with that class, but there's classes that come around every now and then where that happens. You look back at the class with Christian McCaffrey and Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette. All 3 of those guys did it right off the rip. So we have that happen every once in a while, and I think this is a special enough class that we see some really radical numbers.
And I think the key to it is leaving it open as the top 3 guys and not naming them, because I think that really leaves the door open for somebody to kind of come out of the woodwork and a la Bucky Irving last year or whomever. It always seems to be somebody kind of coming out of left field. And this is such a deep class anyway, that a guy could really emerge depending on situations across the league.
Yeah, it was like my next thing to talk about too was thinking like, man, like, the quarterback situation, Jalen Hurts, like we're seeing this emergence of some young, talented quarterbacks come in. We've talked about like how hard it is going to be a wide receiver 1 this year and how like wide receiver 9 has now got closer to being like those tight ends, right? Like wide receiver 9 and wide receiver 14 might not be much of a difference. Same thing with this last couple of running back classes. I think that we've seen a massive surge of youth out here to really kind of reshape the dynasty landscape at the running back position. We've been very blessed over these last couple of years with some draft classes that have really come in and really kind of had a nice influx of talent and youth to really make startups very interesting and make teams very interesting as well. So love that running back take, Garrett. I think it's very likely to do because I think this is one of the more special. We've been talking about now for a year, right? This is one of the more special running back classes that we've seen in a very long time, probably going back to that Christian McCaffrey year of elite running backs. So very excited for that. All right. My next take here is going to be Russ Wilson loses a team due to personality issues.
Is that even bold?
No,
that's the most rich one ever.
They named Jackson Dart the number 2, right? And I think that all just sets up pretty quickly for a switching of the guard if this thing starts going sideways. So I think
I just wrote that to say it out loud. I just wrote it. It was in the middle of all my bold predictions. I just wrote it and I bold lined it.
There's not even
just to make sure
a take there.
There's no take. It just says Russ Wilson loses a team due to personality issues. That's it. Not even skill point. It's just his personality. Like, dude, I can't listen to this dude in the huddle anymore. All right. Next real bold take is DJ Moore is the guy who stands out and is the guy you want in Chicago. Everybody's talking about Rome. Everybody's talking about Colston Loveland and Luther Burden and DeAndre Swift, and DJ Moore is the guy you're going to want. When you look at what DJ Moore did with this team and Caleb Williams last year, weeks 11 through 17, he was wide receiver 15 overall, averaging 16.6 points per game. And the big news here was what happened. They fired offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. So for me, this is a player who's super durable, right? Hasn't missed a game in 4 years and really kind of excelled in this offense. We have a new coach there in Ben Johnson, and we saw Ben Johnson's offense, what he does. He runs that really dynamic offense, very running back friendly offense, and it really likes to utilize their skill position players. And his schemes just emphasizes playmakers. And I've talked about this before, where we've seen them trying to utilize DJ Moore all over the field. He's getting touches in the backfield at the line of scrimmage. And Ben Johnson's like, hey, I just want to get the ball in my playmaker's hands. And that's what DJ Moore is, a playmaker. He's dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's excellent with making people miss and yards after contact. And we saw him do this too. We talk about the running game with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, but Ben Johnson utilized Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams with carries as well. Definitely a lot of those end arounds. So I think DJ Moore is going to be the person that gets manufactured more touches and sees a lot of touches. I think he is the one that is going to end up leading this team in PPR points for the 2025 season. And then my next bold take is same division. Jordan Love is a top 5 fantasy football quarterback. This is going back, ringing true, back to where he was. I think he picks up right where he left off in 2023, where he was quarterback 5. And when you look back at what he did over that over that time span, I get real excited about all the weapons that he has. I love the Matt LaFleur offense, and I love that we saw. I said this recently when we were talking about the quarterbacks. We saw what he can do when he was banged up. He was quarterback 17, and he was banged up all year long and still managed to produce. And this is somebody who can come out here and get it done with their legs as well. But he's in a division. We talked about this, Garrett, how excited we were about on the roster rescue. The NFC North is just an absolutely dynasty fantasy football goldmine. Look at the offenses: the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Bears. You have to score points in this offense or in this division, and you're going to have to keep it up. So right now, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to score a lot of points this year. And when you look at Jordan Love as well, this is somebody who can get it done with his legs. He's a very athletic quarterback. I think in 23, he averaged about 5 yards per carry. He had about 250 rushing yards. But in 2024, we saw that where he got really hurt. But there was a quote I found out there that's very interesting from the Packers offensive coordinator, Adam Stefanovic. He literally stated he wants to see Jordan Love run more in 2025. He says, I quote, absolutely. I think that's a huge weapon, and Jordan has the ability to make big plays down the field. So if we can just see a little bit increase in his rushing ability and get up to that 300, possibly 400 rushing yards per game and see an uptick in fantasy value, about 4 points per game, I think that's going to be enough to get Jordan Love back to the player that I was super stoked for and telling everybody to buy in 2022. And he rewarded me with a quarterback 5 finish overall. I think we see the Jordan Love of old, and we see a top 5 fantasy football performance from Jordan Love of the Packers.
I absolutely love that one. I think he's got all the upside in the world, and all they do is just keep getting this guy weapons as well. So not only, obviously the health is going to be a huge, bonus as long as he stays healthy this year, because that was something that he was really elusive last year. And obviously, if he gets anything on the ground, it's a bonus for a guy like him who's such a talented passer. And you did mention he was right around 250 yards in 2023 when he really kind of peaked and hit that quarterback 5 number. So I think all of that, everything's pointed kind of in the right direction. Going out and getting Golden in the first round, I think is huge as well. So I really like Jordan Love. I always have, ever since he kind of, emerged as a starting option there in Green Bay. He's looked really, really good. So that one I could totally see. What was refresh my memory on the first one? I'm sorry, I zoned out for just a second and then I lost it.
DJ Moore is the guy that owned in Chicago.
Oh yeah, DJ Moore. Because I did want to comment on that. I was almost. This was one of those weird ones where I almost did like a Luther Burden one as a bold take, just because. Listen, I'm not a big Luther Burden guy because I didn't see the effort there, but I really do in college on tape. That looked like there were effort issues, but from everything that we've heard so far through camp, I think it'd be hard to ignore that they really like Luther Burden, and he looks to be a very good kind of fit in this offense and what they want to do, like creatively, from Ben Johnson's standpoint. So while I like the take about DJ Moore, because I think they can do similar things, I'm just not sure that they love DJ Moore as an inherited guy more than they love Luther Burden as the guy that they handpicked. So that's what I'm not 100% on. Like, where does all that stuff flush out? So I didn't end up doing the bold take on it because I wasn't 100% sure, because that was the fight in my brain. Like, is it DJ Moore? Is it Luther Burden? I don't really know how this thing's going to work itself out. But in my brain, like, they handpicked this guy, and none of the issues that.
Handpicked DJ Moore's extension. That's what got me there. Like, he's tied in with that extension. So even though he wasn't Ben Johnson's handpick guy, but we don't know if Ben Johnson's making the picks either. I'm sure he did have some talk in the Luther Burden pick for Pace, but I'm just saying it wasn't like we have a whole new regime there for DJ Moore. Like, I 100% get exactly where you're coming from. But that's why it's a bold take saying DJ Moore's going to lead the team, because it really is. Because you're right. Like, we were all down on Luther Burden. He's had a really good camp. So and I think that's the biggest question for everybody. Like, even with Rome, right? Like, in Coastal Loveland, who you love, like, man, like, where does this offense end up? And that's why I want to pick, like, who I want to pick the guy that I thought was going to be the guy to own this year in this offense. I could have easily done Green Bay too, which I think my bold take there would have been Matthew Golden, right? Another player that we didn't over love that offense. But I'm going to go DJ Moore, and that's why I kind of backed it up. But I totally understand what you're saying, Matt, and why it makes sense. It's way less bold to say that, because it does. It makes sense. Like, where does this go?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
The one thing I'll say that ties them kind of both together is I want as much of that division as I can get my hands on. So as many players as I can, like, yep, I'm interested. I want to know the price. Obviously, I'm not looking to overpay, but that is a division that I want a big chunk of. Even with Micah Parsons being added, yes, that beefs up their defense, but it's still going to be a lot of 28-31 type games, I think, in that division, and I'm here for it.
All right. Before I hear you guys, I got to tell you guys, because we don't have much time here. If you're listening to this by kickoff, it's too late. But I got to tell you about what's going on over at my friends at my FFPC. And in the days, the game is literally hours away at this point. And they have 2 massive tournaments that are absolutely lighting up the fantasy football world right now. And if you're looking for life-changing prize pools, you need to hear about this one. I mean, let's start with the crown jewel, right? The FFPC main event, We're talking about a $1 million grand prize with over $6.2 million in total prize money up for grabs. This isn't some massive field where you get lost in the shuffle either. They've capped it at just 4,260 teams, which gives you a legitimate odds at that $1 million payday. And we all know you got to get lucky, right? But that's why we play a lottery. You get lucky. So the kicker is they offer multi-team discounts. So when you enter additional teams, you save $600 off the regular price for each one. That's serious value if you want to increase your chances. Now, if you want even more action, check out the FFPC Big Gorilla. The beast has 17,700 teams competing for another $1 million grand prize and a $5.7 million prize pool, all at just $350 per entry. But here's what makes the Big Gorilla special. They have this wild 7 bananas promotion where every time you get the 7th draft pick multiple times in a row, you're in bonus credits. Get it 5 times in a row, they'll send you on a free jungle safari. I'm not even making this up, man. Only FFPC would do something this creative. Plus, when you buy 3 Big Gorilla teams, you get $50 off. So 3 teams for just $1,000. Both tournaments have drafts running through this Sunday, September 7th. So time is running out fast. Head to myffpc.com. That's myffpc.com. Use our promo code NERDS for $25 off your entry. This link is in our show notes. And remember, once these tournaments fill up or Sunday hits, whichever comes first, you're locked out into next year. So you literally have days left. Don't let this opportunity pass you by.
We've got some amazing in-season stuff going with Fast Draft as well. Look, if you're looking to turn your film study and all this preparation that you made during the season into instant cash, you can do that over at Fast Draft. Here's the deal. Just draft 6 skill position players, no quarterbacks, no kickers, then apply the captain boosters that multiply points up to 2x. That sleeper rookie you discovered in our film room, boost him and watch your profits soar when he explodes. You can choose between the Quick 6 Super Slam or the Flex 6 Frenzy tournaments with guaranteed prize pools. First place takes 30%. That's a $300 profit on a single $500 entry. Look, head over there, use promo code NERDS, and Fast Draft matches your deposit 100% up to $100. But if you are new to Dynasty Nerds, use that promo code NERDS, and we're going to give you everything that we have to offer. Carte blanche. I'm saying that wrong. Carte blanche. Yeah, everything we have at Dynasty Nerds, you get it all. It's getting late over here, guys. $25. And if you're already with us, you get a $25 gift card. So either way, you win with Fast Draft. So head over there, use promo code NERDS today.
All right, Garrett, give us a bold take.
All right, we got the kickoff happening Thursday night, and I think it kicks off Dak Prescott's 3rd top 3 season. So we have seen Dak Prescott do this 2 other times in his career. And look, I get that last year was a disappointment. He was banged up. He was injured. All that kind of stuff happens. And he has been that way over time. He doesn't run like he used to. But this offense is going to have to pull the Joe Burrow type of situation here. They are going to have to throw the ball an unreal amount of times per game just to stay relevant. They were going to have to before the trade. Now you add in the Micah Parsons deal. What is that defense going to stop? That's going to stop absolutely no one, absolutely nothing. And in their division, there's going to be some points put up. So Dak Prescott is going to have to drop back and throw, because as much as I love the guy, Javonte Williams is not the same guy that he was pre-injury. Miles Sanders has already been nicked up and banged up. We'll see if he's ready to go for the game. Jaden Blue already injured. Like, this team is falling apart at the seams. What do they have? They have Dak Prescott, they have CeeDee Lamb, and they have George Pickens. They are going to throw the ball over and over and over. Will he be the most efficient? Probably not. But if he's getting 620 pass attempts to most quarterbacks 540, you have a much better shot at big numbers. So Dak Prescott, top 3 season coming this year.
All I heard was another guy to push Jalen Hurts out of the top 12. So you put Drake May in, Dak Prescott, that puts him down to quarterback 10. I put JJ in, that's quarterback 11. Yeah, just keep going down. I get it, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I think Dak Prescott's in line for like a massive, like either get ahead of it and buy in certain flex unit quarterback help. Like you might be able to give him for like a first and a little bit on top potentially. But if not, like same thing, opposite way. Like if you have Dak and you've been trying to unload him, you're like, man, I'm not getting the value I really love. Just wait till week 9. Yeah. Like Garrett's, and you're going to be like, oh, okay. First plus sounds good to me.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. Rich, why don't you go a couple more? My last ones, I feel like I've petered out. So I'm going to wait one more round and then slide those things in at the end.
Here's a quick one. Only I've been slurping. This guy is JJ McCarthy. I said he was gonna be number 12 overall. Now I'm gonna say I'm gonna go bold. He's top 8 fantasy football quarterback. You know what I'm talking about, Garret. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
I'm worried. I do know what you mean. That's the part I'm concerned about.
Yeah. That's exactly what I mean too. So, I'm gonna go over the stats I repeated just, not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago. And it really goes back to look at the weapons he has in Justin Jefferson. He'll have Jordan Addison back, TJ Hockenson, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, solid offensive line. Most importantly, Kevin O'Connell runs his offense. His offense so far in the NFL has been quarterback fantasy bullet proof. Sam Darnold, quarterback 8 in 2024. In 2023, Kirk Cousins was quarterback 6 weeks 1 through 8 before getting hurt. Then Josh Dobbs stepped in from weeks 9 through 12. He was quarterback 8. Then Nick Mullins stepped in weeks 15 through 18. He was quarterback 10. In 2022, Kirk Cousins was quarterback 7. So we all saw what happened to Kirk when he left. So to me, this offense, this coaching staff, what's around him with the upside of the player and his mobility, JJ McCarthy finishes year as a top 8 fantasy football quarterback, up from just a couple of weeks ago when I say he finished as quarterback 12. I'm going to get a little bit bolder on him because, like I said, Garrett's been slurping too. So, yep, 2 hands are better than 1. Next one in my list is Davante Adams outscores Puka Nacua to be a top 6 fantasy football wide receiver. And this is a guy who's been suffering, right? Like he's been getting balls from Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, washed up Aaron Rodgers. And then I think that this year he's going to outproduce Puka Nacua, just like he kind of did when he was on the field for those 11 games with Garrett Wilson. If you look at a lot of the metrics, Davante Adams outproduced Garrett Wilson in those games, those 11 games. He averaged 12.5 yards per reception and had 26 contested last year. So this shows him that he's not washed whatsoever, despite his age. And when Stafford's the quarterback, the Rams just score points, right? This is an offense that scores on 42% of their possessions. And what I really love is that Matt Stafford, not only has he supported 2 top 24 years in 3 out of the 4 years that he's been the quarterback in LA. And the only year he didn't do it was 2022. And that time, I think Cooper Kupp was wide receiver 1 overall. The big thing here is when he is the quarterback of the Rams, every single year he has a top 6 fantasy football wide receiver. And I think this year is one last big, massive, hey, I'm a Hall of Fame player. Davante Adams outperforms Puka Nacua to be a top 6 fantasy football receiver.
Yeah, I like that one, man. I think that's something that's a feasible one. I think they did a good job of, I guess, diversifying that wide receiver core. I feel like, obviously Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are very similar players, and while Davante Adams just brings a kind of a different element than a Puka Nacua, and something that I think Stafford has been missing. And he's got such a big arm; he can get downfield, he can chuck it deep to Davante Adams, and that thing could really come together. It's obviously all going to depend on whether or not Stafford's back is healthy throughout the season. Yeah. I think that has to be in the equation kind of across the board for all these guys. But obviously with back issues and a quarterback that's had a history of back problems, that's
I mentioned 2022 week 11 he went out with the back injury.
Right. It's got to be the kind of the first thing you think about. So as long as that's as long as he's healthy, I think that's a nice bold prediction. I think that's something that could really come true.
And I think what you're pointing out there too, Matt, is like given Stafford what he's been missing. Like Puka's a nice big slot receiver, right? That dominates the middle of the field. Kind of Cooper Kupp was kind of that mold too until he came along. I think this would get Matt Stafford is a true elite alpha X receiver. So we get to actually see that role get played out in a Sean McVay offense. And that's what I'm excited about.
Totally.
Rich, real quick, I'm going to go back to JJ McCarthy real fast. Let's say this bold prediction comes true and he's quarterback 8 this season in what is more or less his rookie campaign. Where would you predict his ADP to be if he's a top 8 guy at that young of an age? Like, where would you expect him to go in super flex drafts?
I think he'd be flirting right around, like right after. I think let's say like your bold prediction comes true, like Drake May as well, mm-hmm. right? I think, and let's say Caleb Williams has a really good year. I think he would be in that offense. If he's top 8, I think he's going to be right after like Joe Burrow in that range. So like quarterback, like 5, 6, 7. I think he'll jump Jalen Hurts in that mold if Jalen Hurts kind of takes a small step back. Even if Jalen Hurts is like did what he did last year. Say Jalen Hurts goes to quarterback 9 and not quarterback 12. He goes back one slot there. I think with his youth, the fact that he's 22 years old, I think he jumps right around the quarterback 5, 6, right at the back end of the first round of your startup.
Right around the turn. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And right around the turn, right around there. And I think it'll come into the thing where like, again, it's interesting how like all these guys play out. Like it's going to be, who's your flavor, right? Is it Drake May? Is it JJ McCarthy? Is it even possibly like a Caleb Williams, somewhere in that mold as well? So it's going to be interesting because, I mean, we've only got like, you know, obviously I end mine with Jayden Daniels is my 1-1, but like we're going to even start to see some of these other guys kind of slowly start to tip back because of just the age alone. Like even a guy like Joe Burrow, as he hits closer to 30, Josh Allen, he hits closer to 30. People in startups are like, man, I really want to like take this quarterback my first, but like, I want the 23-year-old compared to the 31-year-old. And it doesn't matter how good they play. We saw like Dak, like you mentioned, like Dak and go back to the quarterback 3 outside of last year. Dak was still a very good quarterback, but now what I would presume is, because I'm just excited as you are, Dak has slipped so drastically too, just because he's 30, going to be 31 years old, right? Like it's still, even if they can have 4 to 5 more years. Yeah. But these guys still have 4 to 5 more years of good talent, but it's hard when you're in a startup, say, I need my quarterback. If I'm taking him in the first round, I need 10 years out of this guy, not to worry about it because it's such a good it's a hard position to find. So I would think like for me personally is all I'm going to go off of is I would take him probably right. If he's quarterback 8, with the upside in that offense, because we know Kevin O'Connell's not going anywhere, I would have to take him like right around after like Joe Burrow. And after you go next year, I'd probably take him ahead of guys like ahead of Justin Jefferson, because Justin Jefferson's going to be a little bit older. Like he's going to be in that mold right around there. I would think right around pick 8 through 12 for me personally, if he's that good. More realistic than what Matt said, like right around the turn, pick 11, 12, right around there. But I would take JJ ahead of like Drake May at that point and Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean it is just a matter of time though before what happens, what you're talking about, Rich, with the older guys starts happening, and you're going for upside there. It's, you know, you're talking about like a Josh Allen type of guy. That could be one of these quicker declines. You know, if an injury happens where he slows down and isn't able to run anymore, and he's not as effective with his arm because he's never been a 70% guy. Like he's always around 65. So, you know what I mean? Like it could be a quick drop off for a guy like that once he hits 30. And if stuff mounts as far as injuries. So,
I have it in the back of my head, Matt. Like I'm thinking about that. Like I have a couple of Josh Allen shares and I am monitoring like, okay, he's still elite, but like, I try to do this sometimes with like the right positions, and Josh Allen kind of fits it. If I can find another quarterback that could I think could kind of rise up in that role and give me long-term top 8. I think Brock Purdy fits this mold perfectly. I really do. It's why I've been hammering so long. I would love to be able to like, oh, can I flip Josh Allen for JJ McCarthy plus, you know, things along those lines.
You know, we're talking super flex only for these type of moves because like correct. One QB, who cares, right? I mean, like you just go out and draft another guy.
Allen still holds value in one QB. Like those are the guys that you only like the Jayden Daniels, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons.
But I'm willing to ride a guy out like that in one QB.
Correct.
And just you're fine. You'll just draft him later and hopefully you get a guy that comes right in as your guy. You know, when he's ready to go, you sunset him and you got another guy coming in. It's fine.
And it's way more elite in a 1 QB. And like you said, you're not worried about finding that next guy. You could draft it like a guy who went 1 overall in your mid second round of a 1 QB league. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And Superflex though, sometimes like you do have to be a little bit savvy. Again, it's all team structure. Obviously you have an elite contending team. Like you're not getting rid of Josh Allen. You're not getting rid of Lamar Jackson, but like it's on you to use Dynasty GM and that league analyzer and kind of follow your team. Like, okay, I need to get out why this is still my peak value player. And me and Garrett talk about that all the time on Roster Rescue, right? Like find that right window to get out for some of those guys. And, I think the biggest struggle some people have is like, they're afraid to give up their superstar. That guy's going to go top 5 in a startup draft, top 6 in a startup draft. They're afraid to get that guy up and say, I no longer have the top 6 guy, but they don't have to realize your dynasty team needs that long-term investment plus the extra capital that you're getting on top to keep that next ring going. That's a savvy move.
For what it's worth, not that I'm saying that this is going to happen, but it is interesting that the comp coming in for Josh Allen was Cam Newton. And that is what happened to Cam Newton, where the running stopped being as effective as it was, and he kind of fell off pretty hard. I think Josh Allen's a better overall quarterback than Cam Newton, but it is an interesting comp because that is kind of how all of that ended up playing out. So definitely interesting. Hey, Nerd Herd, want to tell you about a show that we've been doing live on YouTube where we go over your teams and we talk about how to fix your broken roster. It's called Roster Rescue. We do it live every single Monday at noon Eastern time. And if you want to get a part of that, just head to our Dynasty Nerds homepage, go under the store tab, and you'll find Roster Rescue right there. Perfect opportunity to get your rosters in shape before the season or even in the middle of the season to make sure that you can win a championship. But let me get to my final take here, my final bold prediction for the 2025 preseason. And I'm gonna go to the tight end position. And I started with the tight end. I'm gonna end with the tight end. And I have the rookie Mason Taylor. We've talked a lot about Colston Loveland, talked a lot about Tyler Warren, but let's touch on Mason Taylor here. He is a top 8 tight end in 2025. Now, there's obviously a lot of ways that this could go wrong. There's a reason. This was probably my most bold prediction of all of the predictions. But here's where it's coming in at. When you take a look at the roster for the New York Jets, you have Garrett Wilson, then nothing. I mean, there are Jeremy Ruckert, Alan Lazard. Like, I mean, who in here is taking targets? So if Mason Taylor can stay,
Arian Smith or something, who else? Who else is even there as a wide receiver?
Josh Reynolds, I think, is there.
Yeah, it is bad.
It's rough. I mean, there's very, very little there. I do not think it would take much if he starts to earn the trust of Justin Fields or whoever the quarterback is at that point in the season. I think it'll be Fields, but he tends to get dinged up. But whoever it is, if he earns the trust of that guy, why wouldn't he see 8+ targets a game, which is an absurd number for a tight end?
Can I interject with one of my bold takes real quick? It's going to be a fast in and out. Tyrod Taylor starts games this year not due to injury, just inefficiency.
That would be really bad.
Listen, so I'm going to do this really quickly and get out of your way, get right back to your thing. Justin Fields looks like, you look at his stats, 65.8% of the completion last year, whatever, in like his 6 games. Not bad, right? 5-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. It was 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. He had 183 yards per game. And I couldn't put my finger on it. You know, like I'm always like, these coaches keep passing on him. These coaches keep passing on. He had the 12th highest sack rate at 8.2%. And I found this really weird stat on fantasy points data. It's called a hero percentage, and it measures a quarterback's ability to make an extraordinary throw that maximizes the results of the play. And Justin Fields is like one of the lowest. Out of guys that had 100 dropbacks, he was the 4th lowest at like 1.2% of his throws on these hero throws that maximize the play. And the guys that are around him, Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson, are the 2 guys above him at 1.9%. And the 2 guys below him are Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Tyler Huntley. So he's just in some pretty poor I guess, company as far as kind of making these like big time throws. So that's it. I'll get out of your way. Get back to Mason Taylor. I just wanted to interject that one.
No, you're totally good, and it definitely ties into what we're talking about here. So I look back specifically to Sam Laporta's rookie season, which obviously was amazing, but we're starting to see a trend. We had Brock Bowers. Before that, we had Sam Laporta. A few years before that, we had Evan Ingram. So it's not as absurd as it used to be for a rookie to come in right away and make it a big impact. And in 2023, it wasn't like Sam Laporta had an absurd amount of targets. He had 120, which is a good amount, but I don't think that there's any reason that a guy like Mason Taylor, if healthy, couldn't have somewhere between 110 and 125 targets. And if so, I think top 8 is very realistic for that type of target volume.
They got Laporta number 1 overall.
I think it's the right right offensive system, like you mentioned, and there is no one else. That is the most important thing. So even if it is Fields and he's not making these heroic, amazing throws, I think, a tight end specifically kind of eases that burden and makes things easier on a quarterback. Sure. So, they'll be doing a lot of play action stuff, and who's sitting there 8 yards downfield? It's usually the tight end sitting there. Yep, exactly. Showing his numbers. So we all know Mason Taylor's, I think, got the skill to do that kind of stuff, even as a rookie. And so this is the right offense to kind of have something like that happen. And if that happens, likely my bold prediction won't happen, but that's okay. I mean, and that's how this world kind of works sometimes, and no big deal.
And if it's our number 1 rule for tight ends, it's over talent. Talent's not our number 1 look all for tight ends. Our number 1 rule is you have to be the first or second look in your offense.
Yep.
That's how you become elite. That's where you can, again, where did Jonnu Smith pop up all of a sudden here? He led his team in targets. It's that simple. Laporta, 120 targets, tight end 1 overall. Not the most talented tight end in the NFL. That's what it takes. So,
yep.
All right, Matt, you got another bold take, or am I doing my richest rant?
My last one would just be Thomas Fidone emerges as the tight end to own in New York. Right now, it's only Theo Johnson as the top guy, who really did nothing last year. He was about tight end 30 or something crazy like that. And Daniel Bellinger's there, and then Chris Manhertz, who is just a blocking tight end. I liked what I saw out of Fidone. 9 targets, 8 catches, 64 yards, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion in his short little 3 games in the preseason here. Obviously, the last one was the biggest. He had 5 grabs, 39 yards, and a touchdown. And he made the team, most importantly, over a guy like Greg Dulcich, who I think is everyone sees as like this pass catching guy that's where his chops are, and he made the team over him because he just does everything. He has a nice all around game. But Fidone, I think, has got some bona fide receiving skills. So I don't know that it'll take that long for him to kind of climb up above Manhertz and Bellinger. And after that, you're just leapfrogging Theo Johnson, who was a rookie last year and missed like 4 or 5 games at the end of the season. So I think it's feasible.
Looked good.
He did look good. He absolutely did. Yeah.
I think came down to like, wow, we only have room for so many pass catching tight ends, and we like what Fidone did. Obviously, Manhertz is going to block. Bellinger can do a little bit of both, but he's a little bit more receiving. But yeah, I mean, Fidone had some really nice catches this preseason, so I could easily see him emerging.
All right, Rich's rants. Let's hear it, man.
All right, Rich's rants real quick. 2 are going to be super quick, but this next one is Bryce Young is a top 16 fantasy football quarterback. This is somebody where I've been leaning towards him more and more. He's probably one of my favorite buys at quarterback right now. And right now, when you look at Bryce Young from week 12 on last year, after the benching, he was quarterback 6 overall. We saw that week 18 performance versus Atlanta. He really had a really big time game there. And what's really interesting too is he's been showing off his running game as well for a smaller quarterback. This is somebody you didn't really expect, but I think he had over 200 rushing yards. I have it here as rushing stats. Now it's blank. But it added a completely different dimension to his game out there. And what I saw is like just what Dave Canales has done. I think his average rusher was 25.4 rushing yards per game from weeks 12 through 18, which kind of helped that surge as well. So when I look at a quarterback who goes out there, Dave Canales, who's done wonders with these quarterbacks, they bring in Ted McMillan, which I think is going to be massive for a guy like Bryce Young. But then you can't forget, like Matt's guy, Xavier Legette was hurt last year, a first-round draft pick at receiver. They get rid of Adam Thielen. Jalen Coker's hurt as well. This is another receiver that, Matt specifically thought was really talented. And not only did his pre-draft analysis say, hey, this guy is super talented, it translated to first-round draft pedigree. And Garrett, Matt, you were on the show. I told Garrett, I wish you were there. I can't remember who said it, though. Somebody was one of the defenders was talking about receivers on the team, and they're like, man, like I'm really excited for Xavier Legette to finally be healthy this year and show everybody got. He's like, and this reminds me, because this was your comp to him, Matt. He's like, he reminds me a ton of AJ Brown, is what he said. And that was your comp to Xavier Legette when he was coming out, was AJ Brown too.
Strong dude, man. Like, good luck trying to, and he can go up and get the ball. And he's got some good tracking skills as well. So yeah, I like that. I like that also. Getting back to Bryce Young, that hero percentage, he actually has the third highest, 6.8%. The only dudes ahead of him are Josh Allen and, oddly enough, Anthony Richardson. So I don't know how sticky this stat is. but guys that right after him are Michael Penix, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, like all legit guys. And there was just this one outlier of Anthony Richardson. So but third highest for Bryce Young.
Yeah, I mean, and it was he was quarterback 6 from week 12 on. That's 6 games. That's in a regular season, it's almost half your regular season when he showed us when he came back there. So for me, Bryce Young, I think, is probably, you don't get many windows in super flex leagues to go out there and get a young former first overall pick who's coming off like a half a year of playing really good fantasy football quarterback play, who just added a top 10 receiver in NFL draft, who I expect to see a ton of targets as well, for the price point of Bryce Young. He is the perfect, like, man, I need to blow my team up or like really reset. I need more players and more draft capital. He is the perfect upside quarterback where you go trade the Jordan Love, the Caleb Williams, the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and you get Bryce Young back as a quarterback. So your hole's not empty, but you get a whole bunch of capital on top, whether it be draft picks, young running backs, young receivers on top. He's the perfect player to get, because in a couple of years, you'll be like, man, yeah, sucked I gave up Jordan Love, who's quarterback 5, but I got Bryce Young, who's quarterback like 13 right now. But I also got Garrett, Tat McMillan to go with him, something along those lines. And I gave up this player. I gave up Lamar Jackson, who's now 31, and I got 25-year-old Bryce Young, who's quarterback 12, and Tat McMillan, who's wide receiver 9. He's the kind of quarterback. Is it a gamble? For sure. But like I said, Canales has done really good things with quarterbacks, and he really stepped up in his second half of the year for him, and he had to sit back and like kind of learn his lesson. Does that mean all problems are fixed? No, but I am inching closer and closer to being back like all in on Bryce Young than out. And what I'd hate to do is, for his price point, I would hate just to miss this really good buy window, then it kind of double, right? Because you could probably get Bryce Young for a first round pick, most likely, in a lot of leagues,
I would think so,
if he's expendable. Sure. So, and some people are like, oh, first round pick. If he's quarterback 18, he's a top 70 overall scorer. So Bryce Young, top 16 fantasy football quarterback. Next two are real quick. Next one is Ricky Pearsall, ends up being a wide receiver 2. This is somebody who's going to slide in. Juwan Jen's supposed to practice this week, but we don't know how he's going to play, how that calf injury is really going to look. He hasn't practiced at all since OTAs, Juwan Jennings. And honestly, all we hear every single week is Russell Gage, this player. All these San Francisco wide receivers are hurt. Literally all of them.
I was going to say, didn't they just cut Russell Gage? I feel like that just happened.
Is that what happened? Well, there's people getting down. They're getting hurt. They're getting put on IR. Kendrick Bourne's visiting. So for me, somebody
Bourne's visiting, Sky Moore just got traded there. Who knows what the heck's going on?
Yeah, I forgot even Sky Moore is there. This is somebody who's a sure-handed receiver. Only had 3 drops in college on that. And when you look at him coming in, he got 31 of his 33 catchable targets last year, 400 yards, right around there, and a couple of touchdowns. Even when he was in with Debo last year, Ricky had 272 yards. Debo had 264. And that was despite Debo having 13 more targets to him. Right now, you have an opportunity to get Ricky Pearsall, which, again, he's not cheap. So I'm not saying like he's some go out there you can buy, because I think a lot of people are like really excited for what he can do. But he's the number 1 receiver in a Kyle Shanahan's offense with no other buddy to mess with him. Except for Kyle Pitt George Kittle, who Garrett said is going to break the all-time receiver fantasy tight end receiving record. And then Christian McCaffrey is about to be running back 1 overall again. So Ricky Pearsall finishes as a very solid wide receiver 2. My next one, I think Aaron Jones is the best cheap contender running back to own right now. And I think he's going to be a top 20 fantasy football running back. And listen, I know they traded for Jordan Mason when they didn't have a lot of draft capital and they gave up like a 5th round pick for him and they extended him. But even so, when you look at Aaron Jones, even though despite him turning 31 in December of this year, in 2024, he was running back 13 overall. In 23, played 11 games. In 2022, he was running back 9. 2021, he was running back 11. And his numbers last year, when you look at him, man, for a guy who's going to turn 31, he did not drop off at all. He had a career high 306 touches last year. He had 46 missed tackles last year, and he gained a very Rob Gronkowski friendly 69 first downs. I think they brought Jordan Mason in to kind of help spell Aaron Jones so he doesn't see that 306 touches last year. But I think in this offense, he'll still be a very useful weapon. And I think he'll be at that back end mid-range running back 2 right now. And a lot of people are looking to get Aaron Jones off their roster. So he's somebody out there that I think is going to produce. Another one I think is a guy who's going to emerge this year is Trey Benson, the Cardinals, of the Arizona Cardinals. I know James Conner's had some really good years out there in Arizona, and he's been their primary running back, but he's going to be 30 years old going into 2025. And he's had of the last couple of years, he's got some history of missing some games. I think he's missed like 3 games at least. He's missed 3 games in 7 of his seasons so far. And despite coming off another really solid year last year where he played most of the games, I'm really concerned about his age, but more so is I'm concerned with James Conner is that the Cardinals want to see what they have in their 3rd round pick in Trey Benson. And this is a running back that we really like coming out, Garrett, a 6 foot, 216 pound running back that's 4.39 speed, a bruiser. And they've been really talking up Trey Benson a lot in this offense. Even James Conner himself came out and said that this is like a dual-headed threat and that he's ready to see that Trey Benson's a co-running back 1, and that's how he sees it. So I really think this is a slow burn where we kind of see the emergence of a Trey Benson, kind of like a Bucky Irvin last year. But I think about the end of the year, I think we're going to have a clear picture of Trey Benson and if he's the future there in Arizona. And I'm going for the bold take. That is, the answer is yes, that he is the future and he will be the lone starting running back for the 2026 season. Last one before I get to my Browns.
Oh boy, here we go.
The last one is Jayden Daniels, and this isn't extremely bold, but Jayden Daniels is the top overall fantasy football scorer overall and wins NFL MVP. This is a team that went out, added Deebo Samuel. They added Laramie Tunsil. They took a tackle, I believe, in the 1st round. He had 891 rushing yards last year, 40 missed tackles. His 52.4 rushing yards per game are the 11th most all time by a running quarterback. Now, he did it as a rookie. He's a fantastic runner, but more importantly, he's a very efficient passer. When watching his tape, this is what I got super excited about Jayden Daniels, and I'm so glad that I was able to put myself out there on this podcast and say, listen, I know a lot of people are taking Caleb Williams 1-1, and that's rightfully so. But boy, if you have more than 1 first overall pick, you better use that other one on Jayden Daniels because he's that good. And that's how much I want to insulate that 1-1 overall pick. And I'm so glad that I did that and pulled that off. This is somebody who is coming out in a Cliff Kingsbury offense, mind you. And Cliff Kingsbury's offenses, boy, man, they are getting after it. They averaged 68 plays per game, 3rd most in the NFL last year. So he's going to have a lot of opportunity to get out there. I love the addition of Deebo Samuel a ton, a weapon in that offense to utilize for Jayden Daniels, kind of open up this game a little bit more. I think Jayden Daniels comes out as number 1, cements himself as a new great thing in the NFL, the next face of the NFL to kind of take that next step to be the new Lamar Jackson, the Josh Allens, and he's my bold prediction to win NFL MVP. And that was my big bet on the preseason, whatever the odds were, I bet him to win NFL MVP. So that's my last one. And then my Browns one, I always do one at the end of the year for bold takes. Where do they finish?
Let's hear it. Yep.
I bold, the most optimistic way I can look at this is
8 wins.
Which again, do I think the Browns are going to be good this year and do anything special? Probably not. But as a fan of my team, and just like your dynasty teams, we all start 0-0. Anything can happen. There's always a team that finished last and makes the playoffs. My bold take then would be that Joe Flacco plays well enough in this old Kevin Stefanski offense to manage the game, and they ride the back of what we saw in 2023, which was a top 8 defense that we've seen since the year 2000. This defensive line, with addition of Mason Graham to it, outside of Mike Hall and Malik Collins, to go with Myles Garrett, who's arguably in the best shape of his life and fully healthy. And then out on the outside, you have Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire. I think Wright ended the season with 1 sack in every single game. You add the linebacker, who some people are saying, even other scouts, the guys like Lance Zierlein are saying, Carson Schlesinger, pick 33 in the draft, is a sneaky pick for defensive player of the year. I think the Browns play lights out defense and just good enough offense to be the sneaky team to make the playoffs. Now that's my most bold prediction on the show. Unlike what I know, but come on, give a kid some hope.
It definitely is. Let's hope for all of our hometown fans here in Cleveland that one comes true. Fingers crossed. And yeah, I guess this is it, man. Season's here.
This is it. Yeah, praise I'm excited, boys. I'm tired. This is a late show for us. We had a late show because of kids' sports, but I'm actually absolutely exhausted. But I'm super stoked, dude, for what people are listening to tonight. If you listen to this when it first came out tonight, I can't wait to see Jalen Hurts take a step back, and I can't wait to see Dak Prescott to throw for 890 yards and Saquon Barkley to rush for 250.
Well, I hope Dak does, because that means CD will have at least 450 yards if he throws for that.
No one else I think has a good year this year that I didn't talk about. Like, I think is going to have a sneaky good year that emerges and kind of either a trade candidate or like put himself on the market really good, and that's what he wants to do. I think Dallas Goedert has a really good year. A tight end that we all loved coming out with his athletic ability. He got a little stuck early behind Zach Ertz there, but then kind of stepped up, was really good, and then got buried again by AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. But a very talented tight end.
Yes, he is, man. I think staying healthy is always his thing. You know, if he could do that, then he'll have a nice season.
All right, boys. Well, you enjoyed the kickoff, and I will talk to you soon as we start getting some way more shows breaking down these NFL games.
Sounds great, man. Adios.